Hello and welcome to the Bourbon Bear and the Chicago Bears start the season 1-0. And after a great tailgate, I have my co-host, Robbie Dunn with me. How are you, Rob?
I'm great. Victory Wednesday. Ready to do it again.
Oh my God, it feels good that the Bears start the season, which we haven't seen a lot of the time, 1-0. But going into the game itself, hard-fought victory, a lot of help from defense, a lot of help from special teams. What are your overall thoughts on the game?
Just reminiscent of old Bears. Going into the game, we thought it was kind of the new page, Caleb Williams. It was a defense and special teams show, but we got the win. I'm not mad about it. I had to meet head expectations. We can dive into some of the reasons why, but we played to win the game. A few years ago, last year we would have lost the game.
I agree with that 100%. And to start with the defense there, because let's start positive.
Yeah.
Poles made a move to get a guy that I had no idea even existed in Darrell Taylor. Mm-hmm. 2 sacks on the game, had constant pressure, caused that forced fumble on the strip sack, which was recovered by TJ Edwards. Looked great out there. Didn't see a lot from Austin Booker, but I'm fine as long as the defense can play well. But what are your initial takeaways on how that defensive line played?
Missing in the first half. Different story in the second half. They turned it on. Jason Hayward might have been in there, gave a speech or something at halftime. So never know what happens. I was impressed by it. I mean, the defensive line put the pressure on Will Levis to make mistakes, and the secondary took advantage of it.
And you're right there, because the defensive line, I think, second half specifically, we gave up that long run to Spears and Pollard. I guess it was probably Pollard who got the longest one, but second half looked like a whole different ball game. The secondary stepped up. We gave that long touchdown. I think it was Tyreek Stevenson to Calvin Ridley. Not Calvin Ridley, was their tight end. But second half, they almost shut him out completely.
Yeah, I heard a stat that they never passed the 50. So, wow. I mean, they played as a unit. They played to swarm the football. Really hats off. We got Eberflus got ready to rumble, and we took advantage of it. We made them make mistakes, and they lost the game. And we didn't. So,
well, talking about that though, because Eberflus the second half obviously got him inspired. Some adjustments were made. It sounds like. I mean, we gave 17 points the first half, which was never good. Second half 0 points, which is, especially with the defense and special teams getting a combined 12 points without counting the extra points. That's saved our lives, basically.
Yeah.
So I think he can run this defense, but it gets concerning when you talk about the offense. Your leading receiver, DJ Moore, had, 36 yards or so. Running back, DeAndre Swift, I think was a leading rusher with 30. There is some concern, and I know a lot of people want to say it's Caleb's first game, rookie jitters, offense maybe wasn't ready, we didn't run up 2 tight end sets. Just give me your overall thoughts on the offense, though, before we get into the deep dive.
Yeah, so I had to meet her expectations. So, you should say all the right things, that it's rookie quarterback going against a new defensive coordinator on the other side. Their defensive line was tremendous. One of our weakest spots is our offensive line, and they manhandled us the whole time. That was evident throughout. But I had really high expectations, probably too high, so it kind of brought me down to reality. But good thing is that hopefully it kind of woke up some players, especially on the offensive line. I think Caleb himself probably learned a lot. I think there's a lot more that the Bears can look back on and adjust, and you'd rather do that over a win than after a loss.
I agree with that 100%, because that win, end of the day, the NFL, with how short of a season it is, that's, end of the day, all that matters. But Caleb obviously only throwing for 93 yards. Not great. There were some clear missed throws. Obviously, the pressure coming up the middle specifically with the guard play and center play. But Keenan Allen did drop a touchdown that he should have had. And that would have been great for Caleb, because first NFL touchdown there, that sucked.
Yeah, that was right in front of us. That would have hushed a lot of the crowd. Yep. That would have been completely different. Here, on the other end, here, bailed a couple, and so they dropped one. So maybe it evens out. But yeah, that would have hushed a lot of the critics. It would have been great to get that off his shoulders. And it would have obviously helped the game. But yeah, that was a big drop. He did overthrow a few, so there's kind of a balance out as far as what was on Caleb and what wasn't.
So, and the last thing I want to bring up about the negatives, because there are some positives from Caleb's performance, but the one sack he took, I think it was a 19-yard loss.
The double spin.
Tried to be a hero, and I think he's going to learn from that it's
Welcome
not all
to
about
NFL.
Exactly.
Welcome to NFL.
Spins out of the first tackle, which is great, but then runs right into another lineman, tries to get rid of the last second, but that's a throw you should just throw away.
Yeah. Yeah, especially against the Titans. Probably in any NFL defensive line, but especially the Titans. I mean,
agreed.
Hats off to them. They deserve credit. The defense didn't, lose that game by any means.
No, for sure. And I mean, you got to give benefit of the doubt to Caleb in the sense that offensive lines we were discussing, interior push was almost crazy. Nate Davis actually only started, I think it was 15 snaps.
Something like that. I think he got benched. They won't say that publicly, but he pretty much got benched.
Which is insane that we're paying him, a 3-year, $30 million contract, not even get to see the field.
Well, you sit out half the preseason, sit out training camp. You don't have cohesion among all the offensive linemen. They try and go with, hey, who were the 5 best that played the best together during training camp? They, sat during the preseason games. I don't know, I'm kind of back and forth every year about how much you should play. But with a rookie quarterback, I feel good about the 2 tackles. We can go into each of them, but the middle is, very important for a rookie quarterback. The pressure right in your face, it can be argued that might be more important than the edges, but you need to have a clean pocket for him to do his thing.
And that's what I'm thinking about, looking at the future, by the way. So next draft, center and both guards. Jenkins didn't do terrible, but there were some plays where he whiffed. It is what it is. Yeah. We need to address center number 1. That's got to be some kind of stud, whether that's with free agency or through the draft, but we can't keep getting these random guys to play like Luke Musgrave last year. Didn't work. Bates, I'm not sure if he's going to help Shelton or what is it going to be like a trade-off? Is it going to be best guy for the job? And Doug Kramer, obviously we haven't seen enough of him, but we can't keep avoiding that by just trying to plug it with a cheap player.
Yeah, we went Darnell Wright, obviously, with our first-round pick before, but everywhere else we've been bargain shopping, discount bin. Trying to do what we can with Bates. Coleman Shelton has played, I think, 17 games the last 2 years, but they didn't want him back, so there's a reason why. Right. So we did, in polls I trust still. This is supposed to be a specialty, played offensive line. There's a lot of cliches there. I don't know if I necessarily believe them, but it is very much through week 1 and going off of last year, an area of improvement, and it was a concern going into the season. It doesn't seem like we did enough to fix that.
I agree, and I'm sorry I said Luke Musgrave. Lucas Patrick, that's what I meant to say. But I think still that's a position you can get, especially with having the Panthers' second-round pick next year.
Very like number 33.
Yeah,
33 overall.
God, if you saw that game, my God, you got blown up by the Saints. I don't even think the Saints are good.
Yeah, it's hammered by that.
But I digress, though, because you spent a lot of money in the offseason getting Swift, though, and I know it's the first game. Don't overreact. Fine. But this running game needs to figure it out. Let's be real.
Yeah, between Swift, Everett, we signed a lot of people. Not a lot of targets. We can talk about target share as well. But could some of those targets or those big signings that we got be, redistributed to the offensive line? Maybe that was a discussion point, but time's passed now.
Mm-hmm. Building on that, though, so a lot of people, to your earlier point that everyone thought Caleb was going to come out gunslinging, we had people at the tailgate saying 5 touchdowns. But essentially, obviously, it's hard to put a rookie quarterback under that much pressure to deliver right away. Rome Odunze, obviously, with his MCL injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out, and that was a pretty big investment on my part. He only had 1 catch for 11 yards on that game. But what do you think Caleb can rebound in week 2? You're going against a good Houston defense. Not great. They gave up, I think, 22 against the Colts or somewhere around there. Yeah. But still a defense that can play ball. They got Darnell Hunter in the offseason, so it's not going to be a cakewalk in your game, too. I know the Titans' defensive line was fantastic, but what are your realistic expectations for in week 2?
Yeah, so it probably changed after Sunday, right? Beginning of the season, I probably penciled this as a loss just because the Texans, not even underrated. People know that they're good this year. They're a live-ass team. So I do think, like, a realistic, hopefully he gets that 1 touchdown pass off his shoulders. 1 touchdown pass, maybe 200 yards would be phenomenal. Now, that's a 100% increase, though. So, I'm saying that in kind of off the cuff as, like, that's, kind of mediocre, but that is a huge improvement from 1 week.
I don't disagree with you.
What do you think stat line-wise?
So I'm going to be real. I got to wait to see because Keenan Allen came up today in the injury report with his heel again, and a 32-year-old receiver, that never is easy when you are on the injury report. Rome Odunze being out, I think Tyler Scott's going to play a lot bigger role, and especially when you saw Anthony Pierce on the Colts kind of like drill them deep, Tyler Scott might be a very important player for that game. But, respectably, if he can continue turnover-free football, and if he gets this 1 touchdown, that's great. throws for 200 yards, I'm kind of going to peg him at. He's got to at least get one 200-yard game. Because, come on,
so.
You've got a lot of expectations to be the number one overall pick.
Yeah.
You can't have 93 yards and then bounce back to like a 115. But I think 200 yards is in the realm of possibility.
I do too. I think they'll call the game a little bit differently, even if it's quick screens or shorter passes, just to get them a little bit more confidence. I heard actually on the way over here that they had like double-digit personnel packages, so they're shifting people in and out. It did feel very much like a testing everything out, test the waters. So hopefully they get everything together, get a solid game plan, and attack the weaknesses of the Texans. So I think it will be a bounce-back game. I don't want to say 300 yards and 5 touchdowns like I was thinking for the first one, but I do think a bounce-back would be somewhere in that middle tier, and I do think 1 touchdown, 200 yards. But to your point, the best thing that he did was not turn the ball over.
Yep.
We saw a second-year QB lose the game for the other team because of that.
I agree with that 100%.
And that's what our last quarterback did as well for us. Last year we would have had probably that night, blah, 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 but yeah.
The one thing to Justin's credit, I mean, when we beat the 49ers, that downpour, that was one of the biggest upsets of the week. But, again, win's a win. I don't care. And Justin, I mean, he looked decent on Pittsburgh, so I'm not, regretting anything.
Yeah.
I think they got, 6 field goals to win that game. So,
yeah. I think he's the leading QB to have drives with ending in field goals. So, number 1 in the league.
There you go. But the one person I want to mention, though, just because we paid him in the offseason, is Cole.
Mm-hmm.
So we paid Cole that deal. It wasn't utilized really well at all. I mean, he was barely even saw him on anything.
Yeah, under 50% of the snaps. I think it was like 48. I'm kind of repeating a few things I've heard. And then Jared Everett around 61%.
But he at least had a catch, Everett.
Yeah.
Cole had nothing.
Yeah, I think he had 1 catch for 4 yards.
Big Cole, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, still underutilized. Yeah. He is your tight end. Jared Everett, familiarity with Waldron from before, so he kind of went with the guys he knows. But we gotta get our best players on the field. And that's kind of the champagne problems with all the talent that we have on the team, that we got to find the ways to get our best players the ball. So we'll see what happens. I think it's way too early to start calling out the play calling, but it was put on the radar after week 1.
Well, and you mentioned that too early to call, and obviously we're not going to freak out about Caleb, but now there is some concern level, and that we're talking on a scale of 1 to 10. We're only at a 2. Right. I think before week 5, then we'll know what our concern truly is.
Right.
Not going to blame him. First game as a rookie, going against a great defensive line, it happens.
Yep.
But when do you start to panic if you're a Bears fan and we don't see any results?
I think it's the how it happens rather than the actual results.
True.
But to answer your question directly, I'm thinking week 5 we'll have a clear indication on what this season is. But I do think if it's a repeat game of last week, I'm talking offensive only, not everything else that happened that led to a Bears win. But if we're not moving the ball, our offensive line's getting blown up. We're not mixing it up or doing some play calls that screens or something like that to get the defense on their heels. I think then it's starting to look at the offense coordinator, who's the easiest person to blame. But I'd give him at least 4 games to at least see where we're at. I have to, put the high, Hall of Fame, projection away for a little bit going into week 1, but I still have that hope.
Well, and that's the one thing, too, because a lot of people thought he'd be the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears franchise history, and starting the first game of the week especially with the extra game, I guess technically you have a buffer, but with 93 yards, that's going to be hard to hit unless you do turn it up a notch. And I hope he does, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, as Bears fans, we want that.
Yeah.
But the defense is going against 3 elite wide receivers in my mind. So you've got Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank. What do you think they can do?
The Holy Tank, yeah. I do think that it'll be obviously a better test than Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
I think Texans obviously are riding high. They had a big win in Indianapolis Colts, but they being the Colts, but they did kind of squeak that one out too. I don't think they covered, but it was a tight game to what I understand. I only saw the highlights really, but I think our defense will finally be put to a test. Not finally, but they will be more than week one. I think there's a lot put in on our secondary, but I do think that our defensive line will have a better opportunity. I don't know if the Texans O-line, I don't know a lot about them, but from what I have seen, it is a little bit weak, so they could get after the quarterback a little bit more and stop the run.
So that's the one person I wanted to bring up too, especially helping out the secondary, is Montez Sweat. 2 tackles in the game. Obviously, he was getting double teamed the whole time, and it which created the opportunities for Taylor. So get it completely. He's going to be the X factor in this game. Let's be real, because you need to get to C.J. Stroud.
Yeah,
you need to.
Yeah,
and I think he's the guy that can do it. If the secondary doesn't get enough pressure, the front line doesn't get enough pressure, the secondary will fall to these receivers. Do you think this front? And again, I think actually Javon Dexter played a good game. He got a sack, a lot of pressure in there. Walker also played a low-key great game. Do you think we can hold this Texas offense to under 20 points?
20 points is tough. That's a good line to set.
Yep.
Yeah, you sound like a bookmaker because that's about right. That's about right. 20 points is right at the line. Man, that'd be tough. I do think if they double team Sweat, though, our other players just have to step up. And to your point, they did in the second half, but they gave up that 17-point lead. So it is a balance. Sweat will show up. I'm not worried about him at all, but I do think that we need a little bit more pressure. A few guys stepped up when they had to. Our linebackers we had a few blips here and there, but we need some of those big plays.
So that's where we're coming to the next point, though. Is Caleb Williams' first road game. I think you were the one who Googled the fact that it was a retractable dome. Might be an outdoor game again, might be an indoor game. I don't even, to be honest, I haven't looked enough into the Houston. But first road game as a rookie is always hard.
Yep.
You're not going to have like the cheers that you come out of the tunnel where it's going to be, everyone's behind you, you got that adrenaline going. How do you think he handles the pressure of being on his first road game?
Yeah, it'll be a college atmosphere. At night, Sunday night football.
Yep.
Waiting all day for Sunday night. So it will be loud.
Sing that for us
maybe if we have time later. So he's a high level quarterback. He gets paid a lot. He has been paid a lot. Get it together, put it together. I don't want to overcommit, but I do think the jitters were there. He famously said, "I don't get nervous on Hard Knocks and all that." Looked a little nervous last week, so I do. Hopefully, he puts that behind him. There is a lot of build up to Sunday Night Football. I do think that it will be a learning experience, as these first few weeks will. But the growth from week 1 to week 2 is going to be really monumental on what the makeup of this team is and how they're going to attack the season.
That's a good point. And I just want to say one thing, though. I found this stat, and I think it's kind of interesting. Under Flus, the Bears are 1-11 against a -6.5 spread. Is this the game they break that? Not win the game, because, again, we'll get into score predictions, but do you think they have a chance to at least cover that?
6.5?
6.5.
Man, they know what they're doing. 6.5. So theoretically, if I was to throw out a score, it'd be 17-23. Bears lose, unfortunately, but that'd be covering. So I guess I have them covering. 1-11 makes me go against the odds there, or go against the trend, which is never good. But I do think that they're covered. You're never as bad as you played last week, and you're never as good as you played last week. So I think Texans are going to be hungry. I don't think they had their best game either, so they're going to fix their team up and take a look in the mirror as well. And I think they're going to look at the Bears as an easy win. So hopefully it's an overlooked game or overlooked game. But end of the day, rambling a little bit, but I think they're going to cover, and it'll be closer than people will realize.
I kind of agree with that, mainly because the fact that the Texans. I'm with you. The Colts game was not an easy win. That was a back-and-forth battle. And the Bears, I think, have the element of surprise on their side with how bad the offense did. So if they can turn it around, which Shane Waldron needs to step up here,
right?
Get the run game established. Maybe run your 2 tight end sets, which you were doing all preseason. Get Cole more involved. I think that'll be good. But ultimately, if we win, obviously I'll be thrilled. This is a game on the calendar, though, that I think if we lose, planning on it, basically.
Yeah.
Mainly because we have a clear shot to the playoffs with the next couple of games coming up with the Colts, with the Jags, with God. There's so many teams that we can beat still on our calendar. But if we win this game, I think the 8.5 for the Bears looks really good.
Oh, yeah. If we win this game, then, yeah. I mean, playoffs bound is really going to echo. It matters how we win it, too.
Yeah.
But, even at 8.5, that's the line, you still lose 8 games, right? So you got to... not every game is going to be a blowout, not the 85, right? But
I wish we were, but we never saw that in our life.
Yeah, right. But I do think it'll be a good game. It will be a testament. And win or lose, I think how we play the game actually matters to the Bears fan and the team itself.
I like that a lot, actually. And the reason I bring it up, though, is because of the fact that Caleb, I think, does have the talent to drive this team to a wild card. NFC North, though, right now is kind of in a weird limbo. The Lions barely beat the Rams. It was an overtime win. David Montgomery, God, Bear for life, got that punch in. Jordan Love out for probably minimum, I'd give it 3 weeks. They didn't put him on the short-term IR, so
very similar to Rome.
The Vikings, JJ looked fantastic, and Sam Darnold throwing the ball actually looked good. So I thought the Vikings were going to be a free win, by the way, and that's not going to happen anymore. So where do you think, after week 1, evaluating where the Bears finish on that tier of the NFC North?
After week 1, going into the season, I was thinking that it was realistic I thought it was realistic to win the NFC North. I do no longer think that. I think it might be we would hopefully settle in second. But now there's 3 live-ass teams. I think I just underrated the whole division in general. Detroit was, the sweethearts last couple years, and I thought this might be the year that they do take that over. They struggle a little bit more than I thought this week. And to your point, Green Bay is better than I thought. I hate to say it, but Jordan Love does look good. And Minnesota, ever since McCarthy got hurt, I thought it was just kind of a write-off season, but seems like they have some dogs that are going to come and play this year.
Mm-hmm. But back to Green Bay, so let's say Love misses 3 weeks. That could be a very, very quick 0-4.
Yeah.
Could. We're not saying it's going to be guaranteed.
I don't even know who the backup is.
Oh, it's Malik Willis.
Oh.
No. Malik Willis, that's not right? The old Titans quarterback.
Okay.
It's
Steve McNair.
Jesus. Well, anyways, so I have it written down, but... Anyways, so the fact that they might start the season, 1-3, 0-4, whatever it's going to be, that gives the Bears a jump shot in the NFC North. The Giants look terrible. Vikings, I think we still, with our defense, can contain Sam Darnold. I'm not too afraid of that. But where do you think we finish? I know it's a hot take right now, but after week 1 in the NFC North.
NFC North, I'm just hoping that we have the tiebreaker for second.
Second, okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
Tiebreaker for second. Again, meathead of me last week said that we're going to win it. I do think Detroit's going to figure it out, and they're going to bite kneecaps all the way to NFC North champions. And hopefully we have break even with the other 2 and just our record overall. We'll have that tiebreaker to at least get that second spot.
So, final point I want to make, though. Rome Odunze was projected, or the over-under in the gambling sites, was 647 or so yards. Probably being out this week. Do you think that's a possibility?
That's tough.
Missing a game is huge.
Missing a game is
huge. And
huge.
had your first game 11 yards. That's all you got.
Yeah. So, I guess he rolled up. Got rolled up on Thanks Velas. I thought it would be.
One more point. We can talk about that.
I almost brought it up when you were talking through the wide receivers we had available this week. But anyways, so I still think he'll get it. I think he'll have a breakout season. What I'm trying to say is I think he will get it together. I think just the offense in general will kind of weed itself out. It does feel a little bit just with the amount of packages, the different things that they did. They did somewhat feel treated like a preseason game. I do think that they'll focus in on their, stars and who they want to give the ball. So what I'm trying to say is I think we rest up Rome, but I still think that he'll have a big second half of the season when the Bears start clicking. It's probably still won't be a couple weeks. Obviously, he's out. I think Caleb will be mediocre for the first couple weeks, but I do think there'll be a lot of growth, and we just have to remember that we're still young and we're still on a journey.
So I actually have to bring up 2 points. I apologize for that. But Velus Jones, we need to talk about that. That was the elephant in the room. So special teams in general, you cannot trust this guy with punt return or kickoff return at this point because literally that ball, you were at the game, bounced right off him.
Yeah.
Gave Tennessee the ball. I'm done. I'm done with this experiment. I know in Hard Knocks they mentioned that he had a trade offer for him. Probably should have taken the pick at this point. What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was overhyped going into the season. Like, do we cut the 53rd man or not? He had the Hard Knocks blow up. The Hard Knocks effect. Yeah, all that. But he reminded you in the first game why we were saying we don't want him. I know he's versatile. I know he's got the measurements, but he's not a gamer, right?
Well, and he's also older than like most receivers.
Yeah, I think he's the same age as like DJ Moore or something like that.
I believe it. It was something with the COVID rule. It was like, why are we like keeping this if he can't do punt returns? Because God, what was it the Vikings game last year where he fumbled that?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Good thing it kind of ended up working out for us, but like I was so pissed at the time. He gave away wins, and it reminds me. 2018, Cody Parkey doinked a few field goals.
I'm not even going to mention it.
It's the warning signs are there. If it continues to happen, you can't be mad when it happens in crucial moments. So Cody doinked a few during the season. Then when it mattered the most, he double doinked.
And I think it was the Detroit game in 2018 where he doinked like 3.
Yeah.
Which was insanity. Yeah. And I had brought that up. I'm like, this guy's going to lose this goddamn season. It's like, oh my God.
The warning signs are there. The warning signs have been there for Velus, and if he is back there for punt, kick, whatever, any sort of return, I will lose a little bit of confidence that they don't have the gumption to do what's necessary.
So I'll turn the table though. Double pointing this point, but Carter looked great as a returner.
Yeah,
got a 66-yard return, got the Bears in field goal range before half. Unbelievable.
Part of the win. That is part of the win.
Why don't we just have him doing everything? I don't understand.
Again,
punts and kicks.
They were trying to fit Velus in to prove themselves right. They like him. I don't know. He must tell hell of some jokes. I don't know. They're trying to fit him in. So, but to your point, we have good players that can make plays. Give them the ball. We already have champagne problems, too many riches, and our special players. So we don't need to fit him in. Let's just give the other guys the opportunity.
I'm all for that too because I'm just done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Everyone is so mad that keeps happening. Like the fumbles are like that changes the game. So
the warning signs are there.
Unbelievable. Like,
warning signs are there.
We're done. We're done. If the Bears are done with it, please be done with it. It's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
But then, final, I guess, question for you: this offensive line as a whole, you're going to be playing against, I guess, the Bears. Technically, we'll be playing against some of the worst offensive lines due to the record last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to make a trade at some point in the season or a signing, whatever it's going to be, to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. Trades do happen during the season. Lots less than all the other sports, but they do happen. I don't know what's still left on the scrap heap, but that seems like whoever was cut. But again, it seems discount diving. We do have some capital to move. I would almost rather kind of get it together. Like we should have better offensive line play, I guess is more what I'm trying to say. Nate Davis figures shit out. Coleman, Shelton, or Bates, whoever it is, get some lead in your pencil. Let's figure it out. Hopefully, we can coach them up. Let's bring in. We have 3 tight ends that are on the roster that are 2 are supposed to be specialty blockers.
Why weren't we playing Marcelo Lewis? By the way,
that
made no sense. I was confused. I was like, dude, he's getting killed back there.
So that's another roster spot going to, I don't know, guys in the room, I guess. So I think there's some things that we can do, within the scheme, but then you're taking away from other parts of football. So I think we can figure out, to your point, do we make a trade? Do we make a move? I think mid-season is tough, especially with offensive linemen. That doesn't mean it can't be done, though. Should we do it? Sure. But
I think it's worth it, even if you have to give up capital that you don't want to give up. If that's the difference between making the playoffs and not, it's worth it.
But is it time to put your chips in? I think you gotta.
Well, I'm not saying give up like the Bears second round. Actually, with Carolina's second rounder, maybe you tempt some teams with that are just clearly out of it. But that's gonna be the trade deadline talk. We're not going that far yet. I mean, we're not. We're 1-0. Like It's not like we're in that bad a spot. So I won't go crazy to this notion, but this needs to get figured out. You cannot have Caleb. Every Bears quarterback, I feel like, it's killed back there. And I feel like the tackles are figured out. Like Wright and Braxton did good.
Yeah, and Braxton was a fifth-round pick, I don't know how many years ago, but he's figured it out.
He was a 2022, I want to say, or maybe 2021.
Yeah.
One of the two. But
he's been able to stick around and figure it out.
Yep.
He was one of those deep dive, discount guys that has been able to work himself, drafted by the Bears too. We've been able to grow him. Tevin Jenkins, he's back and forth. I don't know. I change my mind every week as far as whether I like him or not. He is a mauler, but when he's not, he's not.
That's the thing. I haven't watched the tape on him, but I think he did okay. I think it was all the other side though.
He was high. Yeah, he was high on rush blocking, but bad on pass blocking. So it kind of balanced out. So he did let up pressures. But it's a passing league.
Yeah, exactly. And then if your rushing game only got 30 yards from your primary running back, what are you going to do?
That's fair enough. That's a good point.
But final, I guess, end the segment right now. Week 2, official score. You give yours, I'll give mine.
I do think it's a loss, but you already gave me the line, 6.5. I do think that they'll cover 23-17. Bears with a loss.
This is going to sound harsh. I think it's going to be a learning experience for Caleb. I think he's going to have a decent game. I've got the Bears at 17. Caleb gets 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Texans, 26.
17-26. I could see that too. That's not too far.
I don't know if they're going to cover, but I think the defense is going to get... And this might be the first game we've seen a Caleb turnover just because he's going to try to be a hero ball.
He won't have 0 for the whole year.
Exactly. So I think that's fair, and I think we'll be 1-1 going into a good spot next week, though, where I think we're going to go on a hot streak, which I'm very excited by. But that's all the time we have for today. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Thank you, Rob.
Duh, Bears.
True Bears fan.
All right.
Bear down.
Good night, Chicago.